In an interview, Berlusconi says he'll step down.
Hello, everyone. It's time for my revenge episode.
You totally got me. Total revenge.
I haven't even been here in like a year and a half. Why are you getting revenge on me?
I know I broke Tom. I know that.
Yeah, this was...
I enjoyed this one.
I wouldn't say I enjoyed it, but I breezed through it like mad.
Hello, everyone. This is Heavy Storms, our little bad anime podcast here. And since the last two episodes I've been doing suggestions from our panel, I've had to select my poison from two different choices. And I genuinely regret doing that. I did not think this format through. But because I had already done two, and I thought instead of doing another normal episode, I do a little revenge episode where I pick something bad I know of and force the people who picked out the terrible things I had to watch my terrible thing. I'm not good without a script. But yes, this is my revenge episode, and I decided to bring back Joe and Tom, who had me watch Lance and Mask and A Town Where You Live, respectively. Lance and Mask, I thought, and A Town Where You Live made me very, very angry. And now now I made them sit through Nakaimo, aka Who is IMOUTO.
And to be clear to the people who can only speak English, the subtitle is My Sister is Among Them. That should tell you all you need to know.
Oh, and I also invited Danny here because I need a tiebreaker for the vote, because they're going to get to choose what terrible anime I watch next from the choices from the last panel.
Haha.
So, yeah. That way we don't have to worry about breaking the formula. Anyways, let's just go ahead and explain what the fuck this is. And I would have done a hilarious sketch where I pretend to be Charlie Day talking about Pepe Sylvia, except it's IMOUTOs, but unfortunately I do not remember the exact scripting of that scene, so wasted potential. Alright. I think I mentioned last episode this is a show from Studio Go Kumi, who along with all the various other shows I've mentioned also did Kenryo Mosaic, which is actually good, and I actually missed this one of those Alter anime based off those like really laid back alchemy games. It was Alter, Eshka, and Logi, I think.
Oh yeah, that one.
That was neat.
And they also did Lance and Masks, which we just talked about.
They also did Crime Edge, which is a modern classic.
Yeah, and Yuki Yuna is a hero. I mentioned that one too. Generally one of my favorite magical girl anime ever. And of course Pandora in the Crimson Shell, which we're going to get to one day. We kind of have to, because it's a show based off a manga made by the XL Saga and Ghost of the Shell guys, and it's one of the worst things I've ever seen. But before we get to that, we're talking about this show, Who is IMOUTO, and there's actually a bit of interesting history. There's an article around on Anime News Network explaining how this whole IMOUTO thing became a thing. And basically it started with, of course, Ergo. Then there was like a serious period of IMOUTO anime where there was like shows actually seriously looking at incest.
Koikaze?
That's it. that fucking show. But eventually it tapered off until that one show happened. And if you have been an anime fan for a few years, you probably know what that one show is.
Kiss
IMOUTO?
Sis?
No, not Kiss Sis, though that didn't help.
IMOUTO.
The one that made... There you go. And of course that person has another anime out, Iromanga Sensei, and it's the same goddamn thing. Remember when that show, when everyone thought that show wasn't about incest, and then it ended, and it turns out it was?
Everyone was watching it and be like, no, it's really good. And I'm just standing there saying, what are you expecting from this?
Yeah, I do remember that weird little time when
They're like,
everybody
hey, Aramo season 1 was good.
It's funny because apparently the anime tries to say it's just like it was just like they've admitted their feelings, but that's it. But apparently they actually do the taboo in the novels.
Of course they do.
Yes, this show came out around the time when this boom was just starting, and of course it is also based off a light novel. But the twist of it is, instead of just having a normal straight up rom-com, it is also a mystery thriller.
Or at least it should be.
They're like fucking I am Kira speeches in this, except I am IMOUTO.
Do not look for me.
Do not look for me, Oni-chan.
There are false prophet IMOUTOs.
I cannot wait until we get to the spoilers part of this, because this source material is fucking wild.
In the end IMOUTO days.
I want to go over some of the staff because I found out some really interesting stuff. First off, the original novels were by someone named Hajime Taguchi, who seems to have done nothing else of any note. It was directed by... Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, he's just resting on his IMOUTO fortune. He never needs to work again.
You know what? You're probably right. This was directed by Munenori Nawa, who has done Locodole, which is a generally good anime about like local idols. I'd highly recommend it. He also did Decapo, Galaxy Angel Z, which I know of, but I don't know if it's like good or bad. I don't know the reputation. Oh, and of course, Pandora and the Crimson Shell and Kiss Exis.
Hey, you're leaving off a notable name off that. He did key animation in Neon Genesis Evangelion for episodes 9 and 16.
Who didn't do key animation for Neon Genesis Evangelion at this point?
Yeah, it's like almost every single director of these bad animes has at least done some key animation on Neon Genesis. It's weird.
It's like the opposite of how like every good director is somehow tangentially related to Utena.
What I found most surprising was the character designer Kentrio Kasura, who's done character design work for Knights and Magic, Comic Party, Two Heart 2, a few of the Macross series, Walker Romance, which that show broke me by the second episode. That entire episode was nothing but terrible innuendos. Nothing but that on endless repeat, and I wanted to die.
Isn't that the show where everybody was wearing like Utena uniforms?
Oh yeah, Walker Romance was based off a porn game, of course, and it's about some knight guy and a bunch of other knight ladies, and they all like fall in love with him or something, and there's horses, whatever. He also did animation direction for shows like Wake Up Girls, the Garcia shows, which I like the first one a lot, one of my favorites. I am not so wild about Labyrinth and all the stuff that came after, except that one line where the main character's like, what's your favorite food? And she's like, and she just says his name. It's like, it's you. Listen, Garcia is fucking madness. He also did animation direction for Comic Lucifer, Rewrite. Oh, and I should also mention he did most everything, as far as I can tell, on a cross-dressing hentai Vendom OVA called Himigoto.
Which you will be reviewing eventually, I'm sure.
I was just looking through the Ann page, and then I saw Himigoto there, and I suddenly had flashbacks to this terrible series of shorts that aired a while ago that was just a guy dressed up as a girl getting sexually harassed by everyone for 3 minutes at a time, and it was one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Sounds like
But
it.
no, it was not that. It was something very different. The art direction was done by Satoru Kurobara, who has one of the most varied resumes I've ever seen, because he's done stuff like this for Moonphase, Fist of the North Star OVA, the old JoJo OVAs, like back in the second part of Part 3, and then Part 1 got animated like a decade later, that sort of thing. This Ugly Yet Beautiful World, a show called Sci-Fi Harry, which looks really rad. Oh, and then also Season 2 of M3, which is not very good. Gaio, that one story about the shark with the robot legs. Freezing and Burn Up W. Oh
Freezing.
my. Burn Up W is about as artistically pleasing as a fist to the nose. It looks so tacky. It's just, how did that happen? But yeah, this is a very weird staff list. And it's, I mean, yeah, who else are you going to get for a show like this? Because, you know, everyone working on the show, I really doubt many of them cared if it turned out good. I mean, no one sets out to make a bad anime, but this was an adaptation and they needed money, and the IMOUTOs were big at the moment, so here we are.
I mean, the weird thing is, it doesn't look bad. The production values are just fine. I mean, save for the nonsense censoring, which we'll get to.
I think it looks fine, but like nothing really stands out. There's no significant artistic flair that really catches your attention, except maybe the blushing. There's a lot of blushing, and it's like not nearly as obnoxious as it is in other anime.
It's very
God, what
generic.
is it? Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I think part of it was because the character designs they had to work with originally were from a light novel artist, and not many of them, when attached to work like this especially, are that good.
Yeah.
Like if you've seen any like light novel show that takes place at some magic academy or has harem elements, you already know exactly what it looks like.
Or if we just talk about these characters, you can see them in your head.
Yeah.
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 The premise of this show is that the generic main character, who I will normally call a protag man, but is actually named Shogo Mikadono, is the heir of a major Japanese company, but before he can actually get his vast riches and become one of the most powerful men in Japan, he has to attend school to find his future wife, because his mom told him to do this.
His mom buys him a bang apartment.
The 1%. Yeah, the thing where things get complicated is that he has a vague memory from when he was young during an accident where he hit his head and lost some of his memory, was that he apparently met his until then unknown sister, who declared she was going to marry him one day at his father's funeral. As you do.
As you do.
Yep.
And now because he has it on good authority that this school is apparently hiding his sister, he can't find his future wife unless he finds his sister first, or else he might accidentally do an incest.
Boom, 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 boom. Wow.
I originally started watching this show years ago because I heard vague things that it was bad, and I wanted to review a bad show. It was like back when I was watching Queen's Blade and Want to Be the Strongest in the World to see if they really were that bad, and they weren't. They're just eh. But this one, I got 6 episodes in and then just lost all will to finish it. Oh my god, this show is so horny.
The thing I loved about this was that the dude is so dead set on not fucking his sister, on not doing anything with her. He's so dead set on it.
Well, at
Like-
least that's one thing
No, that's not even true. Remember the dream sequence he had with the girl he thought was his sister at the time?
So and it's just like he's in so many situations, and he has this apartment specifically so he can have sex with girls that he wants to marry, but he's like, I can't. One of them might be my sister.
To be fair, that is a genuine concern.
Yeah, and at least he's a character who has that concern. For main anime protagonists that are self-insert, you want to bang them and not the character wants to bang them. That they have, there's a chart where it's like, on one side we have nice guy, on the other side we have perv, and all light novel protagonists, self-inserts, fall along this line. So he's about a quarter of a way towards perv, but he's still on the nice guy side. So he knows what porn is, he enjoys it, and he would like sex, but he falls too much on the nice guy and plus his sister. So as much as sex does come up, he never has it.
He's tempted, but he also knows incest bad. Don't do the incest.
And he can ruin an entire international company.
I can't. It's my sister.
But I feel that's like the whole gimmick of it is the forbidden. It's like the incest is bad, but that's the whole selling point too. Because if it was just a harem, it wouldn't have been written. It's like they protest too much.
It gets muddy, to say the
Tom,
least.
you're gonna hate me for this, but that's only part of the equation, and the rest of it's kind of worse. It's basically just having a girl who loves you unconditionally in the most simplistic way that there's no challenge to it at all, and this is what certain people like.
While we're talking about Shogo, the protagonist, I'd like to point out he's voiced by Takahiro Sakurai, who I'm a big fan of his. I love a lot of his characters. He's a fantastic voice actor. He phoned it the hell in for this one.
Can you blame him?
No. Like, he has done Yasuburo in Eccentric Family, Dr. Salt and Flip Flappers, Taki Sensei in Sound Euphonium, Oshino Meme in the Monogatari series, Rohan in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and he is just phoning it in here. Multiple voice actors and actresses sounded like they were phoning it in for this, which I don't think I've ever been able to notice in anime before.
I think the only exceptions were like the minor characters, like that one reporter who's like a chuny who thinks they have a second personality.
The most pointless character in the show.
And the best one. and the teacher who also looks like a little girl but acts exactly like a 4-year-old woman and like beats up a guy by putting her boogie board under the water so deep that it rockets out.
Yeah, she's the second best character.
We need to go back a step. The reporter girl, she's not chuny, she's schizophrenic. According to the subtitles.
Which is wrong.
They're saying Chunibyo, and the subtitles are like, she's schizo. And I'm like, oh
Which
no.
isn't even accurate. Schizophrenia is not multiple personality. Those are two entirely different things.
Like, the translation...
Don't be a chuny at school!
Not only is the translation just wrong, but, like, you got the wrong mental illness. Oh...
Anyways, I think we should go down the characters first. So before we get to the harem, which is mostly boring characters I don't want to talk about, let's talk about the good characters.
Yeah, like Vice President.
We'll get to her. But I was like, first let's talk about Isuku, aka that the character referred to as Mr. X, that ninja that lives with the main character.
Ninja Emoto.
And is like a cross as a woman who pretends to be a man at school and constantly exercises in the nude in front of the guy.
Yeah, that's
the one
good
thing
character.
The one thing I noticed about Mr. X through the whole show, Mr. X never actually like admitted to being a woman or anything. That was all Shogo, just being like, I guess this is why they do this or do this. But the whole time they're just like, they like never once say anything about it. It's great.
I didn't notice that. That's kind of neat. But I did notice that they're an exhibitionist.
Oh yeah.
It's not even subtle.
Oh yeah.
But there's also an innocence about them because they don't know what sex is. What probably is the worst episode 3, where
oh yeah, I remember this.
Where Mr. X is going through the high school as a boy, but he's extra close to Shogo, so everybody assumes they're a thing and they're gay. And so the two girls who grew up with
the primary IMOUTOs,
Shogo, yeah, they like, okay, we have to reprogram him to like girls.
We have to turn him straight.
Yeah.
This is not. Yeah,
That's totally how this works, stupid people.
We have to walk around in naked aprons to make him and act like IMOUTOs to make him straight. Because he's trying to make babies with another boy.
I only recently watched the last 6 episodes because I didn't want to go through the first 6 again, and I actually forgot about that. Oh God!
It's like a town where you live, where okay, it's bad, but it's not terrible yet. And then we get to episode 3, and it's just like, what the hell?
Thank God for episodes 5 and 6 because they follow the best character, the actual best character, the witch girl who runs the IMOUTO cafe.
Oh yes.
Oh God, I remember I forgot all the earlier episodes as soon as I was done with them, so that I would.
Yeah, so
the early episodes are the best.
So the first episode we have Mei Sakura. At the end of the first episode, she's like, "I've been waiting for you, brother." So it's just like obvious false, path that she's the sister. She wears a witch outfit. She has braids and glasses, which means she is automatic best character for me. So that's
correct.
Automatic win, which means she can't be IMOUTO.
She's also kind of a pimp.
Yep. Yeah. As we will find out in the next episode, where she actually runs a sister cafe. It's this long, convoluted story where
it's called a IMOUTO cafe.
Yeah, she was incredibly intelligent, adopted by a professor, but her adopted mother actually ran a cafe, and she has good memories of it, so she decides to run a cafe. But the thing is, it's about having all the waiters are sisters, so and they treat you like a big brother or a big sister, and that's the entire thing. So she was just greeting him to get him to go to her cafe and not actually the little sister.
Though the twist is she actually does know who the sister is. Not really. We'll get to that in a moment. But
there's so many false leads. It's bullshit. It's just stupid, and it makes me mad.
False prophet IMOUTOs.
Okay. The full rundown. You have Kone, who is the boring love interest girl that every fucking harem show has. The boring Japanese housewife archetype. She cooks, is submissive, etc. The only twist is she's also really horny.
See, I like that about her.
That kind of surprised me as time went on. I was like, oh wow,
she
okay.
She just wants him to eat her cream puffs.
Yeah, in case you're all wondering, she's the one who wins later in the series, but there's more to talk about there. We'll get there. Second is Miyabi, the Tsundere tomboy girl, because of course we have to have one of those. Mm-hmm. She's on the swim team, and I wrote here in my notes, she's also a fan of water sports.
Because she's on the swim team, right? that what you mean? She likes playing sports in the water because she's on the swim team? That's
we'll
what
get
we
there.
mean.
It all fits together in the narrative. This is a good series.
Anyways, she was a childhood friend, and that's about it. She just mostly screams and yells a lot because she's like the two sundry, and that's her entire personality.
And her dress just kind of falls off.
The best of the three love interest is Rinka, who is the rich girl and the vice president of the student council. She's basically the Ojo-sama archetype, you know, the talented rich girl who's like really nice and all that. She's like really good at most everything she does, but you know, this show has to have that fucking virgin thing going on.
She's the Desuwa and automatically my favorite. It's so inevitable for me. I hate it. It happens every show.
Then you have Mana, the student council president, who despite being all over the intro and the outro, has no role in the story. She's just there to be a dumb baby woman and eat things.
Yeah, she has a childish personality, but she never really expresses interest in the main character or most anything that's going on.
She must have like a bigger role in the light novels, right?
Nope.
Oh. Well, and she doesn't even really get any fan service, which she has. I think, like judging from the ending, it makes it look like she has like the biggest boobs, but she like almost never gets any like real fan service.
The only fan service is if you have a minor inflation fetish, because remember when she ate all that food at the party?
Oh yeah.
Well,
we've already discussed May. Before we move on from the student council, there was that one girl I forgot the name of, but they have her like as an indecency meter based on how many no's she says when she's looking at something indecent. like in I think it was episode 7 where they have the guy be like a moral counselor at the school. And they come across this group of boys who are like trading porn as a way to like have NTR play.
That is high level right there. Those guys are smart.
I couldn't even be mad at that episode by that point. I was just surprised.
That episode
and
is
like
great.
she
cracking down on a
and they have
crime.
and they have that girl look at all their dirty magazines to see how many times she says no to decide how much they should be punished.
that was actually funny.
Yeah, that entire sequence is funny. Like, I actually have it written down in my notes here. Like, hang on here. Oh, yeah. Don't be a chuny at school. Don't scout for IMOUTOs at school. Don't wear cattail butt plugs in your anus at school. It's just such a weird sequence that's actually genuinely funny, and it's the only time in the show that feels like it was trying to be funny and is.
It was a great episode just because, like, I mean, one, it got one of my favorite tweets I've ever gotten to write, which is he's cracking down on the IMOUTO crime. But also, like, all the IMOUTOs at the IMOUTO school are just, they see as a moral officer and start asking him to punish them.
Why couldn't the entire show been like that instead of what we got?
We should point out that the first years at the school call him Oni-chan Senpai. That's what they call him, Oni-chan Senpai, because he makes such a good older brother, and everyone wants to be his IMOUTO.
Yeah, this.
Everyone is a potential IMOUTO at IMOUTO school, even the men.
My notes are pretty terrible this time because I just kept writing down weird things I remembered. But one thing I did point out to myself was this might be the horniest show I've ever seen. And remember, I've seen Valkyrie Profile Mermaid, 2 seasons of Queensblade, 1 season of Vicky Tozen, and Want to Be the Strongest in the World, which like half of that series is just listening to a woman squeal while she's in a leg lock.
You're watching
And
High
this-
School DxD right now.
Yes, that's actually not as horny as this. And High School DxD is unbelievably horny. It is just so upfront about being horny that it's almost you almost want to like it.
That's the one with the ending that's like a rotoscoped pole dance, right?
Yeah, that's only the first season. By the second season, they have another ending where they have all sorts of stuff going on. Yeah, I can't even begin to describe it. I gotta save material for that episode.
See,
but yeah,
what makes the show disappointing is it gets so horny, but never fully commits, because it pulls back at like the weirdest places. Like,
but it's amazing what they do get in there, like the scene where the Tsundere imagines pissing on the guy's face and he likes it.
Oh, yeah, the DNA test. God. Like
that
was flaccid.
I've never.
Why can't she just swab her own cheek? That's why.
The toothbrush scene in Monogatari, that's my standard for the weirdest horny stuff, and the DNA test did not meet that standard.
It's weird because it's actually much hornier in concept than anything I've ever seen, but they fuck it up so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it was done with the care of the toothbrush of Nisei Monogatari, it could have been something. They did not.
At least it started out with her wanting him to like just shove it up her hoo-ha to get.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I thought this is where you wanted it. No.
You want to swab the mucus of my membrane? Okay.
I need blood or urine. Urine, and then suddenly water sports.
Yeah.
Yes, because they can't just talk about it. It's one of the series' biggest things that annoys me is they can't talk about it like normal people. It's the sitcom thing where if you talked about it like normal people, everything would be solved in 5 minutes, but they can't. They have to speak in like things that can be taken as euphemisms, or you have to swab your membrane. It's like you can't just say swab your cheek. No, you have to talk like nobody on the planet Earth has ever talked. So we get these shenanigans.
But the emotos have to be pure. But the emotos have to be pure, or else the sad people won't be able to masturbate to this.
They have to be pure, but always assume the horniest thing.
Yeah, they have to be so deep in the Madonna horror complex that I can't actually think of a punchline for this because it's already so weird.
My thing is how I described it is like, this series has the biggest boner, but they're in a situation where they can't show it off, so they kind of cross their legs, and eventually they have to cross their legs so hard that they break their back doing it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, because, I mean, despite everything Queensblade ever threw at me, except maybe the one character whose entire premise is that she's the slave to a tentacle monster, is actually not that horny. Like, if you removed all the weird horny stuff in Queensblade, it plays just normal as like some fantasy story, but not this. Without the horny, there is nothing in this. This is horny incarnate. I mean, there are butt plug cattails in this show, and one of the main characters has to wear one.
Problem is, it never actually calls them that.
Yeah.
It's very clear what they're going for. I mean, where else is the cattail supposed to latch in? They even do an upskirt shot, and even though it's censored, you know why they censored it.
The best part is they're mechanical and respond to like the user's emotions. So like they had to be responding to just the twitching.
It's incredible. It's so weird knowing that happens in like episode 5 or 6, and then you hit to episode 7, and there's another girl just wearing one just fine, and it's just like meowing to herself in the mirror, and then suddenly the vice president comes in and is like, "No cat girl butt plugs in school." It's great. Why couldn't the entire show be like? Yeah, by episode 8, all the goodwill episode 7 has is flushed down the toilet. With fake zombie bucket today.
Because they actually have to get back to the plot, because everybody cares about the plot.
To be fair, I think the plot is fairly well handled. I like how it's actually kind of clever how it gets around the DNA test thing. Like, when they do finally have one, even if the results were sent in properly, they would have come back wrong, as we find out later, because the person our main character was supposed to trust with that information wasn't on his side the whole time, and he finds out later, and he can't really go anywhere else to get that test finalized. It's why all the big twists that never happened in this series but happen in the light novels happen. It's because the way the scenario's set up, the simple option can't be done simply. And plus, it also allows things like a fucking Kira-style voice discombobulator being used to send a threatening message not to find the IMOUTO.
I'm proud of myself.
Don't find me, Oni-chan.
I called who IMOUTO was from within the first 5 minutes.
But it turns out you were wrong.
No, I was right.
Oh,
No,
I called the right IMOUTO. I watched the intro scene, then it goes to the opening where you see all of them, and I picked, okay, I think that one's gonna be the IMOUTO, and I was right.
The thing
Oh,
about
boy.
that is the series is really bad about tipping its hand towards its secrets. Like, I watched I had a pretty good idea too. You generally just let the series go along with it. I just play along with it. But there is a shot early on where he's asleep in class, or he's having a daydream or something, and he's talking, and then suddenly it's like, I don't want to marry my little sister or something. And then he wakes up, and all that's audible is, I think, little sister. And then there's a close-up on the girl who turns out to be the little sister blushing in the corner, and I'm like, oh.
Sort of.
Yeah.
I say with air quotes.
Sort of. So.
We'll get to that, but
Yeah.
I want to get through everything I can before we get to the spoilers, because there's some fucking stuff that happens in the show. Okay, just based off a few running jokes I found, Kone keeps referring to her lips as strawberries, and it's creepy to me. Mm-hmm. Which is weird, because you all know what I'm into, so for something to creep me out makes me ask, why does that creep me out?
What aren't you into?
Let's see, oh yeah, there's one girl in later in the series who's listening to Kone and the main character through the bed and gets the wrong idea. She doesn't realize he's just tickling her, and she gets a fucking nosebleed. Let's see, what else? There's a dramatic evil planning moment in a bubble bath. I'm trying to... There's not much of the teacher, so I can't really talk about her, which makes me sad. Oh, I wrote down the official tire list, and I put down IMOUTO Pimp Witch, then Ninja Exhibitionist, then Spiteful Child Teacher, then No Girl, then the Chuny, then the President, then Oji-sama, then Tsundere, and then at the very bottom, the perverted housewife who almost had a climax during a mouth swabbing. This show... It's hard talking about this because so much of it is boring, except the little moments where you're like, oh my god, they're taking this seriously. They're really doing this, huh? Or the moment where it just gets so horny that it overflows. God, how did they get away with that fucking water sports scene?
I don't
Did
know.
Don't they know that pee can also be clear? It's not always yellow. Seriously, this is confusing to me. They fucking censor panty shots. How did they get away with that?
That's why it's so weird to me. They censored a down blouse that wouldn't have even shown anything.
They do that a few times.
It's like...
And I understand it's the censored versions on Crunchyroll, but the censored version shouldn't censor fucking panty shots for shows like these.
It's so weird. It's a down blast that's not going to show anything, but then they just have characters just being shirtless with their hair over their nipples. But
the censorship was different than usual because it's just kind of like a black cavernous nothing.
Yeah.
It's not like the beams of light or anything. It's just like it's really, really, really
void.
dark.
Except for episode 7.
Nothing but void under there.
Episode 7 is, we can all agree that there's something there that worked, but like the rest of it, no.
My only thing with episode 7 is it had really nothing to do with the rest of the plot, so it was just a little plot cul-de-sac, and it was just stalling for time. So
Which one was episode 7?
That was the one with the DNA test and the don't look for IMOUTOs at school.
My little sister is disciplined and beautiful.
And the next episode was My Little Sister Resisted. These titles are terrible and very misleading.
Yes.
God. I think now at this point we need to talk about the actual main plot that pops up around episode 9, because this is where the show proves that it's actually, like, competent at telling a story, but it's also bad at it.
Surprise attack, little sister warning.
My Nekomimi maid sisters.
God. So, a girl comes and moves in at the same apartment complex as her main character. She presents herself as Yuzurina and that she is his actual sister. And is like, what?
Show's over.
And yeah, I was like, I actually tweeted on Twitter, wait, now we know who IMOUTO is. Why is there still 4 episodes of this? It's obviously not the sister, but the show at this point does kind of a neat, sort of a neat thriller mystery thing that actually kind of works, where you find out how it was fake she was the sister. Basically, she's an actress, and a very poorly picked one, because she was like in a super popular television show back when these characters were kids.
That's the dumbest thing. Let's hire this actress that he would, like, he should be able to recognize even without his memories, because she was on one of his favorite shows.
Yeah, that's like the one part of this plot that doesn't make sense, but the rest I can actually buy. I'm gonna give him credit for actually having the main character realize that when he realizes this girl is probably not his sister, that the DNA test was faked because the person he sent it to wasn't on his side. Oh my god, he used brain power. He saw the thing I saw an episode ago and planned around it.
Yeah, he and Mr. X are actually kind of smart, which was refreshing. They're not just like, what?
Yeah, I'll give him credit for being proactive,
Yeah.
but he still has no discernible personality traits.
Oh yeah, he's a blank slate.
It's not even that. He's just like, they forgot to write a character.
Like, the only way I can relate to him is we both have giant forehead scars. Unfortunately, at 35, I can't hide them anymore, but...
Yeah, High School DxD doesn't have this problem. It's just like, our main character is a giant pervert, and this is how he's gonna go Super Saiyan, and just fucking runs with it. I'm not joking. There's an episode in High School DxD where he's fighting one of the strongest fallen angels in existence, and then he gets the strength to continue on when the president promises that he can bite her titty. It's like, yeah, I could fight God right now. Oh yeah, God's dead. You just said that. Who cares? Yeah.
I love Monogatari.
That episode is amazing because every single character just had a giant existential crisis when that villain revealed that God died during like a demon war, and everyone's freaking out, and he's just like, I want to get some titty.
Yeah, but does High School DxD have a 2001: A Space Odyssey gag for, like, when the girl gives the MC her panties to help him in his fight against vampire hunters? Because Kizumonogatari has that. It's the best.
Shit, it might have. I don't remember that much, but like, when he gets horny, like the main power he has that he got himself was stripping girls of their clothes magically, and everyone, when they find out about it, is just like, okay, I'm sorry about him. This show has none of that. these kind of shows kind of piss me off because they don't have the sheer confidence to just go, yeah, the person who wrote this is a fucking pervert.
You gotta
And
commit.
we're just going to go all the way.
You gotta commit.
High School DxD is not actually good, but it's fun because god damn it, they just own what it is. This does not.
I like how the protagonist of this show spends like the whole series going, no, I can't do anything with any of these girls. One of them might be my sister. Even when they're like, no, I'm not your sister, I'm this person, you're a child friend. He's like, but what if they're lying? My sister is really... Like, my sister is trying to trap me, and
I think
they might be lying.
I think the thing that there's a thing that we have left out, and that is the fact that he is receiving menacing phone calls every morning from a man.
Oh my god, I forgot.
From a phone with a voice changing app that, like, each of the girls owns this rare phone that is, like, can do voice mimicking. And every morning he gets a call from his IMOUTO being like, I could be anyone around you. You better not do anything. I'm watching you.
You better not fuck me, Oni-chan.
There's a scene where like two of the girls are like naked in bed with him. I think it's when they're trying to turn him straight. And so they fed him a bunch of aphrodisiacs to turn him on. And they're sleeping beside him. And he's like, oh no, I'm really, really like turned on right now. I need my IMOUTO to call me right now just so I can know it's not either of them so that we can have sweet fake IMOUTO sex. And she doesn't call.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it's the IMOUTO pimp who's the one giving the fake phone calls to like manipulate him to do what she wants and to also further hide the identity of the actual sister.
Well, there were 3 different people doing the fake IMOUTO calls using the phone.
Oh shit, this all happened in the first 6 episodes. I've honestly forgotten.
There's the one where the people who fund the school visit, and then suddenly there's a message over the PA system.
Using the
oh
voice
yeah, I remember
changer
that
on the phone.
Yeah.
I think that was the last one they did.
Yeah, that was the last one.
Before.
There was one for like the first 2 episodes or something, and then there was the next one, and then there was that one.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, the vice president girl does the last one because she's trying to protect the main character from these people, and she wanted to give a coded blackmail message without revealing who she was. The IMOUTO pimp was just manipulating him to get what she wants and to also test him to see if he deserves to know who his sister is. And I forgot what the other one was.
Her motivations are she just really, really, really has a big brother complex and wants to get in his pants even though he's not her big brother.
I think all of the characters have claimed at one time or another to be IMOUTO, so that's the reason he doesn't trust anyone.
Yeah.
Because under one circumstance or another, even if they're just saying it as the end of the episode sting to be like, oh hey, big brother, dun dun dun. Oh, I just call everybody that, next week. But
You were like a big brother to me growing up.
You're IMOUTO, he's IMOUTO, she's IMOUTO, I'm IMOUTO. Is there anyone here who's not IMOUTO?
It's great. It's just great how he spends the whole series like this. Like, I can't do anything with any of them. They might be my sister. I'm not into that. I don't want to do that. And then he thinks he's found his sister. And just all of a sudden he's fantasizing about her. Like, in a naked apron and, like, looking down her blouse. And he's, my sister.
Oh, this guy, shit. I'm telling you.
The more we talk about him, the worse he is. At least the main character of High School DxD admits that he is human trash.
Well, he admits to liking porn, but that's about as far as he goes.
Seriously, you guys really should watch High School DxD one day because there's a fucking scene in season 2 where he makes a heart-to-heart connection with this cross-dressing half vampire who has severe social anxiety, and then it's followed up by him telling him about the time he touched the president's tits. and the guy's just like, wow.
Wow. wow.
And then he talks about like how the like Satan himself, who's the president's older brother, gave him a fucking like breast expansion concept, and he couldn't imagine. He's like, this guy, the devil, is at a whole nother level of perversion. It's fucking wild.
Okay.
Why couldn't this show been this stupid?
Yeah.
I mean, we got episode 7, but that's all. It's a shame because like the main plot is kind of clever, and I probably would have liked it if it was about anything else other than not doing the incest.
Or make doing the incest thing a little more interesting. We'll get into the spoilers section soon, but I have a thing where this could have been a really effective dark thriller.
I mean,
It's basically Death Note with emotos.
the IMOUTOs were straight up stalkers. Like,
But I don't think I can. We don't even have to go into spoilers. I can just describe it. Okay, so here's my premise. All of them are actually IMOUTO. His father was actually a shitty guy who cheated on everybody and made sexes for power plays for
Oh, so he's Hercules.
maybe,
Zeus.
but corporate Hercules. He is to get all of these, power plays and, corporate ties. He actually fucks a lot of the people, and so he has a lot of half sisters, and all of them figure out who they are. So they eventually get into the scheme to ruin the son of this owner by getting him paranoid about who the sister is and leading them through this maze. But at the end of it, no matter who he chooses, they are his sister. And then it gets revealed, and suddenly his whole world is ruined. And it's just like this whole thing where this PR facade of these great corporate owners who are kind and fantastic, it slowly erodes away until they are these terrible, horrible people who just like take advantage of the emotions of others for their own gain. And that's your series.
You know what the sad part is? That sounds like it could actually be a porn series manga somewhere.
Or a visual novel. But yeah, no, that would have been a lot more interesting. I definitely agree.
Yeah, but then how else will we have the scene where the girl doesn't realize how a DNA test works and pulls off her panties? Ah, this show sucks. But anyways, the main plot by episode 9 and on deals with that actress we mentioned. And it's revealed her name's like Narui or something. It doesn't really matter by that point. But it turns out she was actually in contact with the actual little sister the entire time and was trying to manipulate her to get proof that she was the sister in order to basically ruin this guy's life and help the other faction in the company take power. And that's why the earlier DNA test couldn't have happened and why you just sort of forgot to do it. Because if it actually happened, it would have proved everything. Sort of. I'll get to that. But yeah, it turns out the little IMOUTO the entire time was Miyabi the Tsundere.
she deserves it.
Like, oh.
I'm proud of her.
She deserved not to be able to have the life she wants with this man she loves because they're blood related.
Yes.
The
Hey,
thing is,
didn't you hear the impassioned speech this show made on how the love between a brother and a sister is better than romantic love? It's a higher calling. It's like the one big scene the president had, just like this like gluttonous ditz just suddenly goes on this, but aren't there other kinds of love? Can't like a brother and sister like share something truly, truly special, like above romantic love?
Hey guys, you want to know what the funny part is?
Yeah.
She's not actually IMOUTO.
Shut up.
As it turns out, in the novels, they didn't get to this point in the adaptation, but it's when they actually fucking finally have a DNA test instead of just going by Miyabi's word that she heard the dad refer to her as his daughter. It turns out she is not blood related, but she does become IMOUTO anyways because the guy's mom and her dad marry. The actual IMOUTO was the woman he fell in love with, Kone. And here's the real kicker. Shoujo is an Oni-chan. Because he's not his father's son. He was adopted. So they're not blood related, but they're still related by law. That happened.
Yep.
And everyone else in the series was still pointless.
Yep.
Can you fucking imagine if they actually adapted that? Oh wait, they probably would have just fucked it up like they did everything else.
Was that not in the OVA? I know there was a bonus OVA.
The OVA was just fan service stuff, like
Okay.
all
And
OVAs
then it reveals
ever.
he loves Kanoe, and then it just
Yeah, no fucking shit. She's the most boring one. Of course she's gonna win. It's a harem.
I mean, the thing that made me with Miyabe is that they had the best chemistry together, which, Koikaze gets into this, but there's an actual thing where brothers and sisters, if they're separated and they don't know their brother and sister and then they get back together, they are higher risk at, getting in relations to each other because they have a certain connection that they can't describe. It's an actual thing because I've actually watched Koikaze because it actually got great reviews when it came out, and it got kudos for actually taking on this thing seriously, even though it has an extended scene of him smelling her panties. So, serious drama. That amounts to I'm going to take my sister and my ball and I'm going to go home. That's what that series amounts to.
That's great.
But that actually makes sense that they would get along the best because science. I don't know.
But yeah, this show sucks and I hate it.
This was nothing. It's not good, but it's nothing.
Yeah, I'm not sure I fully agree with that. Like, partly I agree with it. Yeah, this is very much nothing. But this is also part of one of the worst trends in anime history, which is saying something. Remember the entire OVA boom? Remember how fucking bad that actually was? Oh, God.
What I most remember is the early 2000s harem, which was much worse because it was following Tenchi, so it could be like it had to have this extra story on top of the harem, and it had to be a pure relationship, and there couldn't be any sex. But it's when the horny got in, and the two did not mix. And what was far, far worse than this in my mind was Mabu Raho. It was the one where it's wizard school, so it's, ripping off Harry Potter.
I remember that
Strike
one.
And then...
to be more specific, because that's like 20 anime already.
But he's a pathetic guy who can only use magic 6 times in his life before he dies. But the thing is, his genes have the most incredible wizard in them, so their kid is going to be the most powerful wizard of all time. So there are 3 women who want to just jump his bones to get his genes and are trying to fuck him. So
you actually just reminded me of the funniest thing High School DxD ever did.
But the thing is, this entire premise is fucking horny. This entire premise is about who is he going to get with and bone. But the thing is, the series itself is not horny at all. What the series amounts to is he accidentally uses magic too much and he dies and becomes a ghost, and it's all about bringing him back to life.
Really?
And this series is awful. it's like it totally wants to get down, but it never gets down. And that's how you describe all of the early 2000 harems. Like, even like the really, like, Girls Bravo, the really horny ones, where it's just like,
Oh God, I remember that. No.
yeah.
Hey, Girls Bravo was courageous.
It was courageous, but it's still.
Okay, that show is technically horny than this one.
Yeah, technically more horny, but they still don't get down because the main character, isn't it like he's allergic to women or something like that?
He is. It's
Yeah.
the allergic to women thing.
And then he ends up in the first episode in the world of only women who've never seen a man before, and they see him and go shit crazy.
Yeah, so it's that entire craze of, okay, this is going to be about sex now, but nobody gets to have any. That is far worse than this. I mean, at least he has a reason to not get down, because, like, one of them is his sister, and, you know, to his credit, he doesn't want to bang his sister until the character that comes out and reveals himself.
She's your sister!
Then he has the fantasies, and it's just like, so, I mean...
Yeah, he doesn't want to pull a Joe Dirt. Joe Dirt 2 was terrible. It was the worst anime ever.
You don't say.
It was a terrible anime. Just like Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
I'm looking at some of these episode titles and they're just so bad. It's like episode 3, My Sister's Seduction. Episode 4, My sister's hero is her big brother. 5, My little sister won't let me sleep.
It's better if you replace sister and little sister with IMOUTO.
Yeah, my
Agreed.
IMOUTO won't let me sleep. My maid sisters have cat ears.
Made
When
Emoto.
Nekomimi made IMOUTO.
Yeah, there's My Sister Resisted. My Sister's Trap. My Sister Was Always Beside Me. And then the OVA was titled Brother, Sister, Lover.
And that was a lie. That was a lie on multiple levels, in fact, if you know the full context. That's amazing.
Emoto the chef, his wife, and her lover.
I
My
got
IMOUTO,
that.
my IMOUTO, my IMOUTO, my IMOUTO, my IMOUTO, and me.
Emoto the lad.
I don't know.
Yeah, let's go ahead and wrap this up with final thoughts. Let's start with Tom, since he seems to be the one most broken.
I guess just and watching it was difficult because it would every time it would be something interesting. Like the Emoto mystery, I think was probably the big hook, because I mean that's something. You know, like I liked the
Sylvia.
I like the phone calls and the clues, but then it just like goes into standard harem stuff like the Little Sister Cafe or whatever, and then I just like...
Hey, the Little Sister Cafe was the best part of the entire series.
My
It was
consciousness
so
fades,
stupid.
and then I like the Mr. X, who kind of reminded me of Saruga from Monogatari. She was just
Oh
kinda
yeah.
take no shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was all these clues and like figurines about this TV show, and then the little sister in truth we thought came, and yeah, it was just like, I don't know, I almost want to credit something like Yosuke no Sora or something just for going for it. All these Emoto shows and they're half-assed. They're just boring. It was incredibly dull, and I look back on Upote with like warmness in my heart. Because
The only good Emoto show I've ever seen is Himoto, because it's not like other Emoto shows, and actually it's just like a genuine family relationship between a brother and sister. and there's also funny jokes.
They should stir
And
it up
that's refreshing.
with the Onesan shows every once in a while. There was like that one show that was like a short about an older sister that was like creepy. But like the IMOUTO thing needs to die. Sorry. Yes.
Let the moms come in.
The main character of Yuri, her older sister, is it's a big IMOUTO complex for the main character.
Yeah, I remember that because I tried watching Yuri when it originally came out, and that was like one of the first jokes in the first episode. So I'm like, I don't know if this is a show. But then people will swear by that show, and I need to catch up on it again. But that's always like a weird first impression to give somebody.
Yeah, I like how Ipote started with a German woman thinking you had to eat a flower.
Yeah.
That does not set the tone of the series at all. For one thing, there was no panty shot. For second thing, there was no climax joke. Thank you, Random Sound, for that useful addition. But yeah, what would, since we always rate by 1 to 5 here, 1 as the least damaging, 5 as everything is now dead and it's all your fault, what would you rate this?
Yeah, I'd probably give it a 3. Cause like, while I didn't enjoy it, it didn't sap my will to live. It was just like, really just dull. So yeah, I would just kind of like slip in and out of consciousness. It's like weird things would happen, like the porn trading or the cattails or the DNA test, and then it would just be like normal, just harem, like, oh, Nissan, let's go buy bread and get ice cream and blah blah blah, whatever shit. I just can't pay attention to this.
Oni-san, let me piss on your face.
And the thing is, he also got oversold this show, because I remember on Twitter people were saying this was like a David Lynch series, and 3 out of 4 of us have been watching new Twin Peaks. We could probably just fill the rest of this with random Twin Peaks quotes that don't make sense to Dark. But yeah, it totally wasn't David Lynch.
2x4.
I took that as kind of a joke because I expected that wasn't the actual. But yeah, it was disappointing that it was not. In fact, was it Bitmap who said that?
Why would anyone describe this as David Lynchian? This isn't even fucking like. Who were the guys who wrote Death Note again? It wasn't even on that level. And Death Note is kind of stupid when you stop and think about it. Because, I mean, it makes sense, but it makes sense in the dumbest fucking way you can imagine. Which is actually kind of brilliant in a dumb way. But yeah, this is nowhere near those fucking levels. This is just like a B-grade thriller you see in like a red box. This ain't fucking Twin Peaks. Shit, this ain't even like a fucking Death Note, the Netflix original movie.
When are we gonna actually get the Twin Peaks of IMOUTO shows?
I would call it a masterpiece. Oh shit, now I just remember there's kind of a little sister thing going on. No, is an older sister thing in Grisaya? It's hard to say.
40 minutes of IMOUTO nukes.
Wait, you could actually describe Grisaya as the Metal Gear of Emotos.
I watched Grisaya. I did not like it the same way you did.
I don't mean the first season. I mean the later season, which is just straight up Metal Gear. Including with a guy with a fucking private army and country.
Okay.
That, like,
Outer IMOUTO.
So, yeah, the thing about Grisaya is, like, when it tries to have a plot, it's just terrible. It is like B-Train does a better job at making thrillers than these guys.
I absolutely agree, because season 2 was bad except for the scene where the maid used a knife to destroy a man's gun and then gave an action movie one-liner about how her name means shark before knocking him out, and this was all during an attack where she covered the entire area in gas. That was okay. But the rest wasn't. Also, a lot of creepy shit in that season.
Yeah, I imagine there was a lot of creepy shit in the first season.
Okay, now let's get back to this show so we can never, so we can forget about it forever. Danny, rate this.
What was the scale again?
1 is the least bad and 5 is the worst. Like a hurricane scale.
Is a 1 still bad?
Yes.
Okay. I'd give it a 2. This is, of all the terrible shows I've had to watch on account of Dark, this was one of the most tolerable. The worst shows for me to watch are usually just the most boring ones. And this one, it got kind of boring at parts, and I just zone out. But a lot of the stuff was just kind of like, it got some genuine laughs out of me, and also just, it was fun to just riff on it on my own, because it was stupid. And just tweeting out things like Ninja IMOUTO entertains me.
We have to save the IMOUTO cafe.
We have to save the IMOUTO cafe. We have to stop the IMOUTO crimes and the false profit IMOUTOs. Like, just the general hook of,
Damn it! This entire IMOUTO cafe is a ghost town.
like, just the entire hook.
We've already been fired from the IMOUTO cafe. Melted being slips 3 ways to Siberia.
Just the entire hook of all of these girls want to bone me, but one of them might be my sister, and I need to know which one so I don't bone her. I think that's a pretty good hook, even if the execution isn't great. So,
I hope that never gets taken out of context. Along with most of this podcast.
My IMOUTO resisted.
You go, Joe.
Okay. I am least damaged from this. I give it a straight 1. I would give it a 0.5 if I could, because this was a breeze. It's not a good series at all. But it should be noted, I don't bring this up a lot because nobody fucking cares, but I used to be an intern for Anime Insider magazine back when it was a thing. So when I started, I was doing a lot of the bitch work. Like, I was writing little things about the series nobody else wanted to talk about. So around that time, about 2005, the harem shows of the early 2000s were starting to make their way through the licensing bit and starting to actually get on the shelves. So once they got on the shelves, I had to, write about them. And it used to be the magazine would have a website that nobody went to, and I would write the articles for those. So that's where my worst crimes would happen. Like, the worst things I would ever care to admit. Thank God the website got fried at one point and erased everything, because granted, I don't have any proof besides like the physical magazines to show I did this, but one of the worst things in my life was saying nice things about these. Like, I said Maburabo, one of the articles was on Maburabo, and I had to say nothing but nice things about Maburabo the entire fucking time, and it killed my soul. This is nothing. It actually has a story. Granted, it has to jump through these gymnastics to make it to work. And, it's stupid. It's built on cruddy foundations, and the characters are unmemorable, but it didn't hurt. It didn't hurt at all. And, my thing I wanted it to do, because there was no part of it, I'll get you next time, IMOUTO. Next time.
You bring up probably my favorite thing about industry panels at cons. It's going to like the Crunchyroll panel and watching the panelists just try and sound excited for like Knights and Magic, stuff like that. Like,
apparently people actually like Knights and Magic.
Knights and Magic has a cute main character. I thought it was a good design. It's like the silver-haired boy that looks like a girl. Or, yeah.
Shame there won't be any dojins.
I think they're actually like the main character in Knights and Magic is like, they're either an adult or a teen, like reborn in another world, but like as a little girl. I think it's something like a
doing that again.
Tanya situation.
So it's like
But
Tanya
without
without
Nazis.
the Nazis. So it's good, is what you're saying. Or it might actually have the chance to be good and not accidentally leave Crunchyroll in a position where they have to tweet out a fucking Nazi catchphrase.
Oh.
Remember?
Oh, yeah. People keep trying to tell me, actually, Tanya is good. And I'm like, no, I don't believe you.
I just gave up when I heard it was the Nazi show. I was like, no. We're not doing this again. No.
We're only watching Tanya for this.
Tanya doesn't seem like it'd be bad enough for this. It would just be us saying Nazis are bad for an hour. I mean, our audience knows that. They better know that.
Yeah. Or
Anyways,
else I'll fly down and punch your ass.
As for my thoughts, I was trying to think of why I just stopped this show 6 episodes in so long ago. And I think it came down to it bored me. It was a mixture of boredom and I really don't want to see this anymore. Like, there's nothing in it that happens that's like genuinely makes me angry. It's not that type of show. But it's different from Lance and Mask because Lance and Mask is something I can look at and point out good things here and there or interesting ideas or think, oh, if you change that thing, that could be actually be neat. There is none of that in this show. There's not even enough horny to be entertaining in this show. Like, episode 7 is the only genuinely good episode of this entire series. And everything else keeps finding ways to sabotage itself by just not having the confidence to go full trash or to go full thriller.
Yeah.
It just paces around and can't make up its mind what it wants to be and how it wants to be that. It can't even make up the mind if it wants to be a combination of these things. It's ridiculous. It's just forgettable, bad, boring. Like, they say the worst thing you can be in a bad series is boring, but no, that's it. It really is just offensive, and this series never gets to that point, even though by all accounts it should, because just look at this premise. Just fucking read this premise over again. It's just like, I can't hate it, so it's definitely not getting a high score from me, but I would go around 3 because there's nothing in this show worth defending, period. It's just the single biggest waste I've ever seen of a show. And honestly, I think I hate it more because of what it represents as a greater trend.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, the IMOUTO trend was one of the worst fucking things anime ever had. And that's saying a lot. This was not the worst of it, but it was probably the most unforgivable because at least the worst of it was a little honest about what it fucking was. So yeah, I did not like this. So that's a 1, a 2, and 2 3s. That's like a 2 point something? I don't know. I don't give a shit.
I'm a journalism major. We don't do math.
Anyways, now that that's all done, you guys are going to decide right here and now what show the next panel and me are going to watch. And I have 2 picks, one from Tama and one from Megan. The one from Tama is one I'm sure you all know of and I have some familiarity with. And that is Ninja Slayer, the animation from Studio Trigger.
Ooh.
Yeah, the what should have been a funny Adult Swim Japanese like Dadaist action show ended up becoming rape over and over.
Yeah.
That,
and the weird thing about that is the work is hard to translate because the original source material was making fun of how Americans view ninjas. Like, this is entirely written like a stupid American making a ninja story. And the Japanese making fun of it, which doesn't translate. So they took it in another direction.
They played too much of it seriously as well.
Oh yeah, that too. But
I've
that's great theme song though.
I've only seen half of it, and I know that's a bad pick. But the other pick from Megan might be the one you guys want to consider because it might be worse. Because this is a bad shoujo show she picked out, and if you know anything about what she's watched, she knows bad shoujo shows.
Oh yeah.
It's called Circe, Celestial Legend, and it's like apparently some mind-blowingly bad shoujo fantasy
I've
series.
Seen that.
I've seen it as well.
Oh no. Oh no. Well, could you give me an idea of what the premise is at least?
You know the Crane Wife story?
That what?
The Crane Wife story from Japanese legend that the Decemberists based an album around of, that like a crane became a woman and married a man. Well, and like in Ceres, the man who married the crane or whatever animal it was, like stole her like robe or something and used it to make himself powerful. And so the woman wasn't able to return. And it deals with like the daughter or the granddaughter of that family. It's like,
what?
I mean, it's really weird.
Although it does boil down to boring girl who all the guys like.
Oh no.
But there's some crazy shit in that. There's some crazy shit.
There's rape in this show too, isn't there?
Holy shit. The director of
What?
whatever it is, Celestial Legend, directed Sonic X.
Oh my fucking
so
god.
That's
I
my
guess
pick.
it's a question of, do you want a Adult Swimmy, sometimes funny but then turns bad show, or do you want like an epic shoujo masterpiece of schlock? I mean,
honestly, both of these sound incredibly rapey.
I wouldn't call Ceres epic, but I mean, it's kind of boring. I mean, I'll put me down for Ceres too, because you don't need the ninja one. You've already watched half of it, and I've already had enough of it from what I've watched. So, Ceres.
Okay, so we have one vote for Celestial Legend. What about you two?
Celestial Legend.
yeah, I'll go down on Celestial Legend too.
I guess it's the evil I don't know this time. And I remember how well that went last time, Tom.
No, this one is very different. I don't know. It's
Wild. I was gonna vote for it anyway, just because even if it's on a shitty series, the less people talking about Trigger, the better, in my opinion. But like then I saw the director also did Sonic X, so this is my pick. From the mind that
I guess
brought you
next
Sonic X.
Well, I'm gonna go round up the next panel then, and I'll gotta figure it out because I can't reuse Megan since this was her pick. Plus, she's doing High School DxD with me and Walt for the Halloween episode. Stay tuned for that. But I'll find the next panel, and for the next regular episode, we will be looking at Circe, Celestial Legend, which honestly sounds like the most what thing I've ever seen. Till next time, and back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Mike Rowe went to a real Ford dealership service department.